At dawn, a new chapter of history begins. But it is not just the first light of the morning we see today. It's the dawn of Africa's digital revolution. The very foundation of our sovereignty, our independence, is being shaped in the digital world. And make no mistake, this is a battle for power, economic, political, and cultural. It is a battle that demands our undivided attention, because what is at stake is our future. Today, as we stand at the crossroads of an increasingly interconnected world, we must ask ourselves, who controls our data? Who shapes the digital landscape on which we stand? More importantly, who profits from it? Every single one of us, from the smallest village to the grandest cities of this great continent, is touched by the digital revolution. We shop online, we communicate, we share knowledge, we access critical services, all through platforms that for too long have been controlled by foreign powers. The data we generate every single day flows into foreign hands, and with it, they not only hold our personal information, but they hold the keys to our economic futures, our ability to negotiate, our security, and ultimately, our sovereignty. Let me be clear, the age of simply being consumers of technology must end. Africa is no longer satisfied with being a passive player in the global digital economy. We are no longer content with being spectators, while others dictate the rules of the game. The time has come for us to take control of our digital destiny. We are now demanding digital sovereignty. This isn't just about the 2 million profiles seized in recent actions. This is about much more. It's about the billions of digital interactions, transactions and data points that define our lives. It's about protecting our people, our culture, and our future from exploitation, from manipulation, and from being left behind. We are not here to beg for digital freedom. We are here to take it, and that means asserting control over our digital infrastructures, over the data that is generated on our soil, over the platforms that shape our identities, and over the policies that govern this new world. We must build our own systems, our own networks, and our own rules. No longer will we accept being treated as mere consumers of foreign technologies. We will be the architects of our own digital future. It starts with empowering our youth, the innovators and the creators who are already building the future. It starts with investing in homegrown technologies and platforms that reflect our needs, our values, and our cultures. It starts with securing our data and ensuring that it works for us, not against us. This is no longer a choice. It is a necessity. The digital world is now a battlefield, and Africa must rise to claim its seat at the table. We are the future of the digital age. We will no longer be passive observers, waiting for others to decide our fate. We will make our own decisions, and we will shape our own destiny. Today, we strike at dawn, not as a single nation, but as an entire continent. Together, we will demand and secure our digital sovereignty. And the world will know, Africa is no longer waiting for permission to lead. We are here, and we are taking our place in the digital world. Have you ever stopped to think about who truly controls the digital landscape we interact with every day? Who owns the platforms, the networks, the systems that shape our lives, our conversations, and even our very identities? And more importantly, how much of what we do in the digital world truly belongs to us? For too long, Africa has been relegated to the role of a passive participant in the global digital economy. We have been consumers, not creators, users, not builders. The technologies that we depend on for communication, business, education, and even healthcare have been largely controlled by foreign powers, companies, governments, and organizations that have built their fortunes on data generated by the people of Africa. These companies, based far from our shores, own the platforms we use, profit from our information, and make decisions about how we connect, communicate, and even work. We are not simply consumers of technology. We are its raw material. But now the tides are shifting. A new era is emerging, one in which Africa no longer waits for permission from foreign powers to define its digital future. A revolution is unfolding, quiet but powerful, a digital revolution where Africa is no longer just a passive consumer, but an active player, a creator, and a leader. The time has come for Africa to reclaim its digital sovereignty. This is not a moment for us to sit on the sidelines and watch as others shape the world around us. This is the moment where Africa must rise up and take control of its own digital destiny. The digital age offers incredible opportunities, But it also presents unprecedented challenges. To harness the full potential of the digital world, we must first confront the reality that we have been left behind in terms of control, access, and governance. If we do not act now, we risk allowing foreign powers to continue exploiting our resources, not just our natural ones, but our digital ones as well. At the heart of this revolution is the idea of digital sovereignty. What does it mean for Africa to reclaim this sovereignty? It means ensuring that we as a continent hold the reins of the technologies that are shaping our present and future. It means that the vast amount of data generated on this continent, data that defines who we are, what we do and how we live, stays within our borders and works for us, not against us. Digital sovereignty means that the policies and rules that govern our digital lives are made by Africans for Africans. It means that we will no longer allow others to decide what is good for us or how we should engage with the digital world. For far too long we have been told that the technology and platforms developed in the West are the only ones capable of serving our needs. We have been told that we should be grateful for the tools and services offered by foreign corporations. But the truth is, many of these technologies do not truly address the unique challenges and opportunities that Africa faces. From infrastructure challenges to access issues, to cultural differences, foreign-made technologies are often ill-equipped to serve the diverse needs of African communities. Look at how social media platforms have been used to manipulate public opinion, spread misinformation, and undermine our political and social fabric. Look at how the data generated by millions of Africans is being harvested and sold by foreign companies without any regard for our rights or interests. These are not just abstract issues, they are real, tangible threats to our sovereignty and our security. If we are to chart a new path forward, we must take control of these tools. The digital revolution offers a powerful opportunity for Africa to build its own solutions, to create its own technologies that reflect our values, our cultures, and our aspirations. We do not need to rely on foreign giants to shape the future of Africa. We have the talent, the creativity, and the drive to build our own platforms, systems, and networks. This is already happening in some places across the continent. African tech startups are developing innovative solutions for local problems, and African developers are creating platforms that are designed for the specific needs of African communities. But this is just the beginning. The real challenge lies in scaling these efforts, creating infrastructure that can support them, and putting policies in place that ensure their sustainability. The power of the digital world lies not just in the technologies themselves, but in the data that drives them. Data is the lifeblood of the digital age. Everything we do, every interaction we have, generates data. And it is this data that foreign powers have been exploiting for far too long. The data that we produce should be ours to control, to manage, and to benefit from. It should not be mined by foreign companies to serve their interests, leaving Africa with little to show for the value it generates. As we reclaim our digital sovereignty, we must also ensure that we protect our people from the dangers that come with being connected to a global digital ecosystem. Privacy, security, and the protection of personal data must be prioritized, not just to safeguard the interests of individuals, but to ensure the security of our nations. Digital threats are not just theoretical, they are real, and they are growing. Cyber attacks, data breaches, and digital espionage are becoming more common, and Africa must be prepared to defend itself. The time for action is now. We cannot afford to wait. We cannot afford to let others control the tools and systems that will define our future. We must invest in our own infrastructure, in our own talent, and in our own vision for the digital world. We must build platforms, networks, and policies that serve the needs of our people, not the interests of foreign corporations. This is not just about technology. It is about power, identity, and self-determination. It is about Africa asserting itself in a world that has often overlooked or underestimated its potential. Africa's digital revolution has already begun. We are not waiting for others to tell us how to innovate or how to govern our digital lives. We are creating our own path. And as we move forward, we must do so with one clear purpose: to ensure that Africa's digital future is in African hands, and that our people have the power, the tools, and the sovereignty to shape that future for themselves. Have you ever wondered what happens to the data you generate every time you send an email, click on a link, or make an online purchase? Have you considered who profits from your data and what they do with it? In today's interconnected world, every interaction we have online, every click, every search, every like, every transaction generates a piece of data. And that data, much more than just a collection of numbers or information, is one of the most powerful resources on the planet today. This is the world we live in. A world where data is not just the currency of the digital age, it's the lifeblood of entire industries, economies and political systems. And yet for too long, the data generated by millions of Africans has been siphoned off to foreign companies and governments, leaving us with little control over how it is used, who benefits from it, and what happens when it is exploited. Data is power, but for too long, Africa has allowed this power to be concentrated in the hands of others. Let's be clear about something. Data is no longer just a commodity. It is the foundation of the modern economy, from the tech giants like Google, Facebook and Amazon, to government agencies and multinational corporations. Everyone is seeking to harness data. The reason is simple. Data is the key to understanding consumer behavior, predicting future trends, shaping public opinion and controlling markets. It allows powerful corporations to generate massive profits and gives governments leverage over their citizens. For the countries and companies that control data, it translates directly into economic power, political influence and strategic advantage. Now consider the impact on Africa. Every time an African individual logs onto the internet, browses social media, shops online, or engages with digital services, they are generating data. What happens to this data? In most cases it flows out of Africa and into the hands of foreign corporations that hold the keys to the digital economy. The data generated by African citizens, workers and businesses is often collected, analyzed, and monetized by companies based in Europe, the United States, or China. These companies then use this data to target African consumers with tailored ads, sell products and services, and even influence political outcomes, all without any direct benefit to the people who generated the data in the first place. The reality is stark. The data we produce is fueling the growth of foreign companies, shaping global markets, and enriching multinational corporations. Meanwhile, Africa has largely remained on the sidelines, watching as others profit from its digital resources. The time has come for Africa to recognize that the data generated on its soil belongs to its people, and it must be used to benefit Africa, not foreign powers. This is not just an issue of personal privacy, though that is of course important. This is an issue of economic power, security, and sovereignty. Data is the new oil, and like any valuable resource, it can either be exploited or leveraged for the benefit of the people who control it. In Africa's case, the data generated by its citizens and businesses could become one of the most powerful tools for driving economic growth, innovation, and social change. But to do that, Africa must take control of its own data. By reclaiming the rights to its data, Africa can unlock its true potential in the digital economy. Think about the opportunities that could emerge if African businesses were able to access and control the vast amounts of data generated within the continent. Data about consumer preferences, market trends, and purchasing behaviors could be used to build more efficient, targeted, and innovative products and services tailored to African needs. Data-driven decisions could lead to the creation of new industries, the development of smarter cities, and the optimization of resources in ways that would benefit local communities and economies. But the benefits don't end there. Data is also crucial for security and governance. Today, much of Africa's security and intelligence infrastructure relies on foreign technology and platforms. From social media to surveillance systems, these technologies often come with hidden costs, namely the data generated by African citizens, which is collected and processed by foreign powers. By taking control of its own data, Africa can build its own intelligence systems, better protect its citizens, and ensure that the digital tools it uses are aligned with its own priorities, rather than those of foreign nations or corporations. Furthermore, taking control of its data is a vital step toward ensuring that Africa's future is not shaped by external forces. In the current global landscape, where international corporations and governments have immense control over the digital world, Africa's lack of data sovereignty leaves it vulnerable to exploitation, manipulation, and external influence. Data has become a tool for political leverage. When foreign entities control the data of a nation or region, they can subtly or not so subtly influence public opinion, sway elections, or manipulate social movements. Africa must reclaim its data in order to protect its political sovereignty and ensure that its people are not subjected to foreign influence and control. The road to digital sovereignty begins with the recognition that Africa must treat its data as a strategic asset. It means building the infrastructure to collect, store and process data within Africa, and developing the legal and regulatory frameworks that protect African data from exploitation. It means creating an ecosystem where African companies and innovators can access and use data to create value for African communities, rather than sending it abroad to enrich foreign corporations. This is not a call for isolationism. On the contrary, Africa's digital future is one of collaboration and global partnerships. But it must be partnerships built on equity, mutual respect and a shared understanding of the value of Africa's data. Africa must stand strong and assert that the data created by its people belongs to its people and that the future of Africa will be built with its own data for its own benefit. Data is not just information, it is power, and the time has come for Africa to harness that power, to take control of its digital destiny, and to ensure that the data generated on this continent serves Africa, not foreign interests. The future of Africa depends on it. Have you ever thought about why Africa, despite its immense potential, has often found itself trailing behind in the global digital economy? Why, in a world increasingly driven by technology and data, is Africa still trying to catch up rather than lead the charge? The truth is, Africa has been relegated to the sidelines for too long, content to follow the lead of others. But the time for following is over. Africa is at a crossroads. It's time to stop waiting for permission and start taking control of its own digital destiny. The digital world is not just a place for innovation and technological advancement. It has become the battlefield of the 21st century. In this battle, economic power, political influence and cultural authority are at stake. The countries and corporations that dominate the digital space are the ones shaping the future, dictating how we live, how we work, and even how we think. The digital world is not a neutral space. It is a platform of influence, and those who control it control the future. For too long, Africa has been on the receiving end of that influence, forced to adopt foreign technologies, foreign policies, and foreign narratives that don't always reflect our needs, our values, or our aspirations. But this moment, right now, is Africa's time to rise. The digital revolution is not something that can be outsourced or left in the hands of others. It is an opportunity for Africa to take the reins and reshape the future on its own terms. We must recognize that we are not here to follow. We are here to lead. This is our time to innovate, to create and to define the digital world in ways that reflect the diverse cultures, challenges, and ambitions of our continent. Think about the digital landscape we inhabit today. The technologies we use, the platforms we engage with, and the systems we rely on are predominantly shaped by companies and nations from outside Africa. Major tech companies, many based in the West and in Asia, dominate everything from social media to e-commerce, data storage, and artificial intelligence. While these companies have made great strides in advancing technology, they have also shaped a digital ecosystem that often disregards the specific needs of Africa. From inadequate internet access and infrastructure to data privacy issues and the lack of local content, Africa's digital reality is a far cry from the digital future we deserve. Now imagine a different future, one where Africa isn't simply a consumer of technology, but a creator, a leader, and a pioneer. What if Africa could shape the digital economy with solutions tailored to its own people, designed for its unique challenges, and rooted in its cultural values? What if African entrepreneurs, tech innovators, and engineers had the freedom, the resources, and the infrastructure to develop technologies that solve African problems? Whether it's improving healthcare, revolutionizing agriculture, addressing education gaps, or boosting local businesses. The truth is, we already have the potential to lead. Africa is home to some of the world's brightest minds, its most innovative entrepreneurs, and a rapidly growing tech scene. From Nairobi's thriving tech hubs to the fintech boom in Lagos, Africa is already making strides in areas like mobile payments, e-commerce, and digital banking. But these successes are just the beginning. The real question is, how can we scale them? How can we ensure that Africa not only participates in the digital economy but shapes it? The answer lies in Africa's ability to take ownership of its digital future. This starts with the recognition that Africa cannot afford to be a follower in the global digital economy. We must stop relying on foreign technologies, platforms, and systems that were not built with us in mind. It's time for Africa to develop its own digital infrastructure, its own tech solutions, and its own policy frameworks that work for our people and our businesses. This is a moment of immense opportunity. The digital space is still in its infancy. We are talking about industries that are evolving rapidly: artificial intelligence, blockchain, big data, and the Internet of Things. These are the fields that will define the next century. and Africa has a unique opportunity to position itself as a leader. But we cannot wait. We cannot allow others to write the rules while we play catch-up. We must build our own platforms, set our own standards, and create our own digital identities. Africa must not just participate in the digital revolution, it must lead it. One of the key challenges in Africa's digital transformation is the issue of infrastructure. While much of the world has access to advanced digital tools and high-speed internet, large parts of Africa still struggle with basic connectivity. But rather than seeing this as a barrier, Africa should see it as an opportunity to innovate. Instead of waiting for foreign investments or solutions, African governments and businesses must work together to build infrastructure that can support Africa's digital needs. This means investing in high-speed internet, expanding access to mobile networks, and ensuring that rural areas are just as digitally connected as urban centers. Moreover, digital sovereignty is key to Africa's leadership in the global digital economy. Africa's data must stay within its borders and be used to benefit its people. By developing strong policies around data governance, privacy and security, Africa can ensure that it controls its own digital assets. This will not only help protect the continent from exploitation, but also allow Africa to harness the economic power of its data to fuel its own growth. We also need to invest in human capital. Africa's greatest asset is its people, and this is especially true in the digital age. The continent has a young and dynamic population that is eager to embrace technology. By prioritizing digital literacy, education and training, we can equip the next generation with the skills they need to lead the digital revolution. The more Africa invests in its people's digital capabilities, the more it will be able to innovate and lead on the global stage. The road to leadership in the digital economy is not an easy one, but it is one that Africa must walk with confidence. We can no longer afford to sit back and allow others to shape our digital future. This is our moment to lead, to innovate, and to define the rules for our continent. The digital revolution is not a distant dream. It is here, and it is Africa's to shape. We are not asking for permission. We are demanding our seat at the table. And the world will soon realize that Africa is not just a participant in the digital economy. Africa is the future of it. Have you ever stopped to think about the immense untapped potential of Africa's youth? What if I told you that the key to unlocking Africa's digital future, its innovation, and its global presence, lies in the hands of the young people who are already dreaming of a better tomorrow? They are not just the next generation, they are the architects of the digital future, and they are the ones who will shape the technologies, systems, and ideas that will define our world. But the question is, are we giving them the tools, the support, and the environment they need to turn that potential into reality? Africa is home to the youngest population in the world. Over 60% of Africa's population is under the age of 25, a statistic that has both immense challenges and unparalleled opportunities. As the world increasingly turns to technology for solutions, Africa's youth are at the forefront of the digital revolution. But in order for them to lead, they need more than just hope. They need investment. They need access to education, to technology, to entrepreneurship, and to opportunities that will allow them to harness their creativity and turn it into concrete innovations. The digital economy is growing rapidly, and Africa is in a prime position to take advantage of this growth. However, the continent will only succeed in this new era if its youth are equipped to thrive in it. In the world of artificial intelligence, blockchain, fintech, and other disruptive technologies, Africa's youth have the potential to become global leaders. But for this to happen, we must invest in their skills, their ideas, and by empowering young people through education, access to technology, and entrepreneurial opportunities. We will be giving them the tools they need to build the Africa of tomorrow. Education is the foundation on which all of this must be built. The digital world is evolving at an exponential rate, and we need an education system that prepares Africa's youth to meet the demands of this rapidly changing landscape. Traditional methods of education, while valuable, are no longer enough. Today's young people need to be equipped with skills that will allow them to thrive in the digital economy. Coding, data analysis, machine learning, and other technical skills. More importantly, they also need to be trained to think critically, solve problems creatively, and innovate fearlessly. These are the qualities that will allow Africa's youth to rise to the challenges of the digital age and create solutions that are not only relevant, but transformative. However, education alone is not enough. Africa's youth also need access to the technology that will allow them to experiment, to learn, and to create. It's one thing to learn coding in the classroom, but it's another to have the tools and platforms to bring those skills to life. For many young Africans, access to the internet, computers and modern technological tools is still a distant dream. The digital divide remains a significant barrier to innovation, and without proper infrastructure, it will be impossible for young people to participate fully in the global digital economy. Therefore, investing in digital infrastructure, such as affordable internet access, tech hubs and innovation spaces, is crucial. Only then can Africa's youth truly explore their potential and innovate on the scale required to make a global impact. Access to technology also means enabling young people to start their own businesses and turn their ideas into reality. Entrepreneurship is a powerful engine for growth, and Africa's youth are brimming with entrepreneurial spirit. The continent is already home to an emerging wave of tech startups that are developing solutions to local problems, whether in agriculture, health, finance, or education. But many of these entrepreneurs face significant challenges: lack of funding, limited market access, and a lack of mentorship. To help Africa's young innovators succeed, we must create an ecosystem where startups can thrive. This means providing access to venture capital, business development programs, mentorship and networking opportunities that will help young entrepreneurs turn their ideas into successful businesses. By doing so, we can create an environment where African tech startups are able to scale, compete globally, and contribute to the continent's economic development. In addition to education and access to technology, we must foster a culture of innovation that encourages risk-taking, collaboration, and experimentation. In many parts of Africa, there is still a tendency to play it safe, to follow traditional paths, and to avoid failure at all costs. However, innovation requires risk. It requires you people to step out of their comfort zones, to experiment with new ideas, and to learn from their mistakes. To cultivate this mindset, we must celebrate innovation and entrepreneurship in all its forms. We must give young people the confidence to pursue their ideas, and we must reward creativity, even when it doesn't always lead to immediate success. One of the most exciting aspects of empowering Africa's youth for innovation is the ripple effect it will have across the continent. As more young people are trained in technology, as more entrepreneurs start businesses, and as more innovative solutions are developed, Africa will become a hub for digital growth. Cities like Lagos, Nairobi, Cape Town and Accra are already emerging as tech hubs, attracting international attention and investment. But this growth must be inclusive. It must extend beyond the major cities and reach young people in rural areas, where the potential for innovation is often overlooked. By investing in education and technology infrastructure in these areas, we can ensure that innovation is not limited to a few urban centers, but spreads across the entire continent. The impact of empowering Africa's youth will also be felt on the global stage. As African innovators and entrepreneurs create solutions to local problems, they will be shaping the future of the digital economy. Whether it's building mobile payment systems, developing e-learning platforms, or creating healthcare technologies, African youth will be providing the world with the tools it needs to tackle its most pressing challenges. In doing so, they will not only transform Africa, they will transform the global tech landscape. Africa's youth are not just the future, they are the present. They are the creators, the innovators, and the dreamers who will build the systems that will serve us all. The only question is, are we ready to invest in them? By giving Africa's youth the tools they need to succeed through education, access to technology, and opportunities for entrepreneurship, we are laying the foundation for a future where Africa is not just a participant in the global digital economy, but a leader. The time to act is now. The digital future is waiting, and it is in the hands of Africa's youth. Let's give them the tools they need to turn their dreams into reality. Have you ever wondered why, in a world of rapidly advancing technology, Africa still seems to be dependent on foreign platforms, systems and solutions? Every day, millions of Africans use digital tools created by companies that are far removed from the continent. Tools that are often designed without considering the unique cultural, social and economic contexts in which they are used. What if Africa could build its own solutions, tailor-made to meet the specific needs of its people? What if we didn't have to rely on foreign entities to define our digital landscape, but instead took control and shaped it ourselves? The truth is, Africa has been an active participant in the digital world for decades. But it has mostly been in a passive role, consuming, using and adapting to technologies that were created without any real input from its people. From social media platforms to e-commerce giants, the tools we use to connect, do business and communicate are largely controlled by foreign corporations. While these platforms have brought undeniable benefits, They also fail to account for the complexities of African life. They don't always reflect our cultures, values, or unique challenges. In fact, many of these platforms often reinforce narratives that undermine our interests, perpetuating stereotypes, or pushing agendas that don't align with our aspirations. Now the question is, how do we change that? How do we take back control and start building systems, platforms, and infrastructures that serve our needs and reflect our values? The answer lies in creating homegrown solutions that are not just technologically sound, but culturally resonant and economically empowering. Africa's digital future must be shaped by Africans, for Africans. We can no longer afford to rely on external solutions that don't cater to the diverse realities of our continent. The time has come for us to build our own. The first step in this journey is to recognize that Africa has the talent, creativity, and capacity to create world-class digital solutions. The continent is home to a growing pool of tech-savvy young people, many of whom are already building innovative solutions to local problems. From mobile banking systems to e-learning platforms, African tech startups are proving that we have the ability to create digital tools that can transform industries and improve lives. However, for these innovations to scale and make a real impact, we need to shift our mindset from being consumers of foreign technology to creators of our own. We must begin by investing in the infrastructure that supports homegrown digital solutions. This means creating reliable and affordable internet access, expanding access to mobile networks, and ensuring that rural and underserved areas are connected to the digital world. The lack of infrastructure is one of the biggest barriers to innovation in Africa. And without it, even the most brilliant ideas remain out of reach for many. Once we have the right infrastructure in place, we can empower entrepreneurs, businesses, and communities to develop and deploy solutions that are relevant to their specific needs. But infrastructure alone is not enough. We must also create an environment that nurtures innovation. This requires building an ecosystem where digital entrepreneurs can thrive, where they have access to the funding, mentorship, and resources they need to turn their ideas into reality. Many African startups struggle to scale due to a lack of venture capital, inadequate business development support, and limited access to international markets. Governments, private sector organizations, and financial institutions must work together to provide the tools and resources that will help African innovators succeed. This includes creating venture funds, offering tax incentives for tech companies, and fostering partnerships between businesses, universities, and research institutions. Only by building a robust entrepreneurial ecosystem can we expect to see a sustained wave of homegrown digital solutions. Another critical aspect of building homegrown solutions is ensuring that these technologies are inclusive and accessible to all Africans. The digital divide remains a significant challenge, with many people in rural areas still lacking access to the internet or digital tools. To truly empower Africa's people, we need to ensure that technology is not limited to the elite or urban centers, but is accessible to every person, no matter their location or socioeconomic background. This means creating low-cost, scalable solutions that can reach even the most remote communities. It also means ensuring that digital literacy is prioritized so that everyone can use technology effectively and benefit from it. One of the greatest opportunities that homegrown digital solutions provide is the ability to build systems that are rooted in African cultures, values, and needs. For too long, African narratives have been shaped by outside forces, whether it's the content we consume, the technologies we use, or the political and economic systems we operate within. By creating our own platforms, we can control the narrative and ensure that it reflects the diverse experiences of Africans. Whether it's through media platforms that celebrate African culture, education systems that teach African history, or social networks that promote African values, we can create digital spaces that are authentically ours. This is not about rejecting global collaboration or innovation, but about ensuring that Africa's voice is heard, respected, and integrated into the global digital ecosystem. A critical area where homegrown solutions can have an enormous impact is in e-commerce and digital financial systems. Many African businesses, especially small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, face significant challenges when it comes to accessing markets and capital. Foreign e-commerce platforms, while useful, often fail to address the specific needs of African businesses. They may not cater to local payment systems, for example, or they may not take into account the diversity of languages and cultures across the continent. By building our own e-commerce platforms, payment systems, and financial tools, we can create a digital economy that is tailored to African entrepreneurs and consumers. This will allow African businesses to scale, connect with customers across borders, and access the capital they need to grow. Lastly, building homegrown solutions will also help Africa maintain its digital sovereignty. The increasing reliance on foreign platforms has made Africa vulnerable to external control. The data generated by millions of African users is often stored abroad, giving foreign companies and governments access to sensitive information. By developing our own platforms, we can control our data, ensure that it is protected, and decide how it is used. Digital sovereignty is not just about control, it's about security, privacy, and the ability to safeguard the interests of our people. It's about ensuring that Africa's digital future is determined by Africans, not external forces. The time for relying on foreign platforms is over. Africa has the resources, the talent, and the potential to build its own digital infrastructure, platforms, and networks. By investing in our own solutions, we can create a digital world that reflects our cultures, values, and needs. We can empower our entrepreneurs, protect our data, and control our own narrative. This is our moment to lead, not follow, to innovate, not imitate. The future of Africa is in our hands, and it's time to build it. Have you ever considered what happens to your personal data once it leaves your hands? Who has access to it? How is it used, and who benefits from it? In today's interconnected world, these are not just questions for individuals, they are questions for nations. As Africa steps into the digital age, it's essential to think about how we can safeguard our digital future, protect our data, and ensure that our digital sovereignty is not compromised. Digital sovereignty is not a luxury, it is a necessity if Africa is to thrive in the digital era. At the heart of digital sovereignty is the idea of control. For too long, Africa has relied on foreign platforms, technologies, and companies that operate without regard for the unique challenges and needs of our continent. These foreign entities collect massive amounts of data from African users, often without clear transparency about how that data is being used, who has access to it, and how it is impacting our privacy and security. But the truth is, data is power. It is an economic asset, a tool for shaping policies, and even a mechanism for controlling entire societies. When we allow our data to leave our borders and be controlled by foreign companies or governments, we are giving up not just our information, but our ability to make decisions about our future. Securing our digital future starts with taking ownership of our data. The data generated by African citizens, whether through social media interactions, mobile transactions, or online purchases, should remain in Africa. This is not just about protecting individual privacy, it's about protecting the collective interests of the continent. Data can be harnessed to create economic opportunities, to innovate, and to solve some of the most pressing challenges facing Africa today. However, if this data is exploited or controlled by external forces, it cannot benefit Africa in the way it should. One of the first steps toward achieving digital sovereignty is creating strong data protection policies that ensure the security and privacy of African citizens. In many African countries, there is still a lack of comprehensive data protection laws, leaving individuals vulnerable to misuse of their personal information. This is a critical gap that needs to be addressed. By adopting robust data protection frameworks that align with international best practices, Africa can safeguard the rights of its people and ensure that their data is used responsibly. These policies should include clear guidelines on consent, transparency, data storage, and security. They must also include mechanisms for holding companies accountable if they misuse African data. But securing our data is only part of the equation. We must also invest in the infrastructure and technology needed to protect our digital spaces. This means developing secure digital platforms and networks that are less reliant on foreign technologies and more resilient to cyber threats. Africa's digital infrastructure needs to be built with security in mind, incorporating the latest advancements in cybersecurity to protect against data breaches, hacking, and cyber attacks. As the digital world becomes more complex, so too does the risk of cybercrime. African nations must work together to strengthen their cybersecurity frameworks, share intelligence, and establish regional cooperation to combat cyber threats. Another crucial aspect of securing our digital future is ensuring that we are not solely dependent on foreign technology providers. As we embrace the digital age, we must build and support homegrown solutions that meet the unique needs of Africa. This means investing in local technology companies, fostering innovation hubs, and developing the skills needed to create our own digital O's. By creating indigenous digital platforms and infrastructure, we can not only protect our data but also drive economic growth and technological advancement from within the continent. When African businesses and entrepreneurs have the ability to create and control digital technologies, we can ensure that the benefits of innovation stay within in Africa, rather than being siphoned off by foreign corporations. It's also important to recognize that securing our digital future is not just about protecting data or technology, it's about protecting our rights in the digital space. As we become more reliant on digital technologies, our rights to privacy, freedom of expression and access to information must be upheld. African governments must ensure that their citizens' digital rights are respected and that there is transparency in how their data is collected, used and shared. In some parts of the world, we've seen digital technologies being used as tools for surveillance, censorship and control. Africa must avoid falling into this trap. We must build digital systems that empower citizens, foster democratic participation, and respect human rights. This is how we can ensure that our digital future is not just secure, but just. One of the most significant opportunities to secure Africa's digital future lies in regional cooperation. The digital space does not recognize borders, and cyber threats are often global in nature. To effectively protect our data and digital rights, African nations must work together to create a united front. This means sharing resources, knowledge, and best practices to develop common cybersecurity standards, data protection laws, and digital governance frameworks. Regional cooperation will also be essential in tackling issues such as online fraud, misinformation, and digital inequality. By working together, African countries can create a digital ecosystem that is both secure and sustainable. Collaboration also extends to partnerships with international organizations and technology companies. While we must develop homegrown solutions, Africa can benefit from strategic collaborations with global tech companies, research institutions and international agencies. However, these collaborations must be based on mutual respect and a clear understanding that Africa's interests come first. When negotiating these partnerships, African countries must be firm in their demands for fair terms, including equitable data sharing, respect for African regulations, and commitment to contributing to Africa's digital development. In the context of digital sovereignty, Africa also has an opportunity to become a leader in advocating for the rights of developing nations in the global digital economy. As technology continues to evolve, we are seeing a growing debate about the control of data, the ethics of artificial intelligence, and the power dynamics in the digital space. Africa must ensure that it is not left behind in these global conversations. By advocating for policies that protect the interests of developing nations, Africa can help shape the global digital agenda. This is an area where Africa's collective voice can make a real difference, ensuring that our digital future is secure, equitable, and inclusive. Securing our digital future is not a task that can be achieved overnight, nor is it something that can be left to a few individuals or governments. It requires a concerted effort from all sectors of society, governments, businesses, civil society, and individuals. By taking control of our data, building secure digital infrastructures, creating local solutions, and upholding our digital rights, we can protect our future in the digital world. Africa has everything it needs to succeed in this new digital age. It just needs the will, the vision, and the collaboration to make it happen. The time to act is now. Our digital sovereignty is within our reach, and the benefits of securing our digital future will be felt for generations to come.